Lauren, we're live. 10:03, 3 minutes late, my time.
Only 3 minutes late. Excellent.
Yeah, you look a bit different. You changed up your look this week? What's
Yeah,
going
it's
on?
my glasses. I think it's my glasses. I got, new frames put in
Love it.
here.
Do you wear real glasses, or are you like me and just
No,
wear
no, they're
some?
real. They're real glasses.
Okay.
But the tinfoil hat is not real tin. Most people don't know this, but the tin is actually it's actually aluminum. Like they haven't actually used tin in these bad boys in a long time. As our friends across the pond will know, aluminium or aluminum, as we call it here, is actually what they're made of. So if you're telling someone they're a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, you should actually, if you want to be more correct, you should be calling them an
Oh,
aluminium or aluminum hat conspiracy.
aluminum foil hat conspiracist. I would have, I saw the hat, high fashion. I would
Yeah,
never have guessed that that's not actual tin foil.
yeah. I guess I don't know if it's one of these things where like, oh, tin has cancer and we shouldn't be putting it on our foods. I don't know. Whatever. It's one of
It's got
these
to be
things.
it's got to be
Well,
a cost
back
thing.
in it's like back in the 70s, and everyone was just eating lead paint all day. And then they
By the
decided that,
spoonful.
hey, maybe you shouldn't eat lead paint all day long, and maybe we shouldn't put asbestos, and insulate our homes with it and be covered on four sides by asbestos. Progress, right?
Progress, absolutely. So, if you didn't notice, I also look different with my beautiful background, and that's because we are officially live unveiling our logo, which was very generously created by the AI-inspired art of one of our former guests, Michelle Yee, who was on a couple of weeks ago. And she actually, I'm going to reveal it in a moment, but by
Okay.
moving my big head. But it was actually your original sketch on Canva, which she took that and played around and made it this amazing art. So this is our official logo now. There you go,
Wow.
everybody. My
Excellent.
only my only contribution was the pink background. I thought that was pretty awesome. So
That is pretty awesome. That's the bros wear pink, right? That's what I hear.
exactly. So there's the art, folks. Tell us what you want in terms of swag, and then we will put up a shop and charge very high prices for hoodies, hats, stickers. What else do swag
Yeah, there's a lot of
items
yeah,
involve?
right.
I'm a
I
VP of
went to
marketing
the
now,
Tech
so I should
Bros.
know more about swag.
Yeah, I went to the Tech Bros show and all I got was a stupid T-shirt. That
Yeah,
type of thing.
t-shirt's
Exactly.
better than a
Well,
sticker.
yeah,
So
and we're having a town hall today,
all
and
hands. I like the
all
term all
hands.
hands. It's techier,
It
but
is this tech here having an all hands meeting. I guess town hall is more political because if you you would not Google all hands fight and see like a bunch of tech nerds fighting. Like they'll like make Slack comments about each other or they'll make tweets about each other behind their backs, but they won't actually fight each other. But like if you look up like town hall fight, you see all these people in like middle America or whatever, discussing the budget or whether or not transgender people are allowed in the bathroom or whatever, and then they get into fights like all like fist fights all the time. Just look up town hall
that's what you're
fights.
going for. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Well,
what I'm going for.
welcome to the town hall. Welcome to the all hands, whatever you want to call it. Also, I don't know how much beyond tech or even startups all hands is a term people use. So anyway, anyone who I have a feeling. So we said anyone who joins is we're going to bring them on if they have questions they want to ask. But
or rants or anything.
yeah, rants that we might censor if they get out of control because we are in power here. But I predict that possibly no one will want to do it because tech people are introverts. Oh, and I have to post the link in the comments. If anybody wants to join live, here's the StreamYard link. You will appear first in the virtual studio. If we are not scared of you, then we will pull you up into the show. And again, you can
Yeah,
ask
this
a
is like
question.
I want why we're doing this is like one is I didn't get off my lazy rear end and book a guest this week.
That's okay.
Mary didn't get off of her lazy rear end and book a guest this week. And B, we have people who show up every week. There's a lot of things that are like pretty funky in tech right now. We got all the AI buzz. I think it's kind of dying down. Maybe that's a little contrarian. I think at least like the consumer facing like buzz of Chat GPT and everything is definitely dying down. A bunch of startups have come out that are, basically wrappers on top of this stuff. We'll see if they succeed. I don't know. The data world, it's typical, more layoffs everywhere.
Well,
Whatever.
data and tech, Meta, I don't know how many Meta did yesterday, but I saw a lot of posts on my feeds of Meta people.
Yeah, Meta had another layoff. A bunch of smaller tech companies still laying off. It's never been a better time than ever to get into consulting, by the way. If you want to go ahead and, offer your services to different companies, it's what I've been doing the last 3 years. Mary's done it. And it's, now might be the time to, hang out your shingle and probably make even more money potentially than you were before.
Well, yeah, because companies have made these cuts, but they also need people and they need expertise. So actually, budgets are quite open, from what I found, or can be quite open to hiring outside experts. We talked about this a little bit in the show last week, Lauren, and I was thinking back, maybe I should have been a bit more clear, because I was like, just become a consultant if you're looking for work. And maybe I was making it sound too easy, but really it is easy. A lot of people get caught up in the like, do I have to set up an LLC or an S Corp and all those details? That no, you just have to put yourself out there in the world saying you're an expert available, and then you can quickly figure out the rates and everything else. Like if you just got laid off from a tech job, you have A, B, and C or more expertise, and you can, again, it really is almost that simple. I'm not saying you're immediately going to start making money, not have the massive success that you and I have experienced, Lauren, but I think most people can do it well with a little bit of hard work, a little bit of hustle, and putting yourself out there. It's doable. You've done some interviews about how to become a consultant. I think I haven't watched the one you did with Joe Reese, but maybe people should check that out too, right? Quite sort of giving practical advice on starting that journey, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about consulting is that everyone's full of BS, right? And so, doing any kind of strategy or data consulting, every company has problems. Every company has many problems. Now, some of them are not real problems. Some of them are problems that sit in somebody's head. Some of them are, actual fundamental, like the business is going to fail in 3 months if you don't solve this problem. All you have to do is put yourself out there. And, I've talked with a lot of tech consulting people before, and it's very different. Like the idea of just doing hands-on keyboard work versus, and actually building something, like a piece of infrastructure, or I don't know, an application or a dashboard or whatever. A totally different ballgame than strategic consulting and doing I even do a lot of marketing and positioning with different companies about how they can better market their product to meet they don't know how to sell to developers. They don't know how to sell to the CIO, and they're getting crushed by their competitor who's beating them on deals, right? And so I go look through their messaging. What are they getting wrong? Where in their sales funnel are they dropping people off? Are they getting in the door and getting into a POC, but then where are they losing and why are they losing? And, coming in as an outside party, and doing that, especially when it's sales focused, is pretty lucrative, and it's a lot of fun, and you get to work and, see what's going on in the industry. And, one of my specialties is this whole developer first, SQL based, data stack that we have going on right now. A lot of other companies are wondering hey, how do we start poaching these customers? Because a lot of people are getting hosed by the costs of doing things this way. So, I do that a lot, and it's a ton of fun. And putting on the analyst hat, putting on the strategy hat.
Not to be confused with the tinfoil hat. Or sometimes there's some overlap. I don't know.
Right. No, it's so great. I can literally put a tinfoil hat on, and this is going to be on the internet. And if you search Lauren Ballack, at some point, my name's going to pop up, and you can look through the YouTube video or whatever. And I'm so, confident in what I do. and good at what I do that I can wear a tinfoil hat on the internet and it doesn't matter. Probably helps me more than anything.
Love it, love it, love it. Let's say hi to some of the viewers who chimed in. Val is here. Hi, Val. Jonathan Schlosser, that's a new viewer. I don't know. He says the startups are reminding me of the internet boom in the 90s. LOL. Yes, absolutely. Maybe not so much LOL, but truth. Hello also to Anne Marie Penny and How W, who says fashion, which I think I'd like to say that that's about a comment on my look in the pink background, but I think he's referring to the tinfoil hat. So and a reminder for anyone watching, the StreamYard link is in there. If you want to join us live on the show and ask questions or just give your own rant or agenda. I said in the intro to the show that we we're going to give our agenda, but it's funny because I can truly say we're what, like 4 months into the show, Lauren. Like, I don't have an agenda. People, look at us and certainly look at you and say, they have some sort of agenda. I think that public discussions are really, really important for, again, I've said it a few times, transparency and innovation and learning. And that's what we do. But do you have an agenda, capital A, when you come into these shows?
No. And I've had multiple people say like, hey, I want to be a guest. Like, how much does it cost to be a guest? The answer is nothing, because
we need to start charging, right?
yeah, $20,000 for 30 minutes. You'd be surprised how crazy some of these, like, or maybe not surprised, like how ridiculous some of this stuff is, and how much these like tech companies will pay. These tech companies that make no money will pay just for a half an hour slot on something. So I don't know. I think you might want to post.
I'm reposting the link. Yeah, I need to go into. I think do it directly.
We should put Val on. Howie, you should come on and talk about the procurement industry. We know each other, and he's got a lot of good thoughts on procurements like how people are spending on like their tech spend on like all these SaaS tools.
Lauren, I'm gonna have to mute myself.
You got to mute yourself to put someone on. Well, I don't want dead air, so I can just keep yammering away here for a second. But no, it'd be good to have you on.
Keep talking. I'm gonna have to mute myself for a minute while I hop over to LinkedIn to post the link there. So you just keep talking.
Oh boy.
Do a song.
No, I don't have any yet. I mean, I can keep the tinfoil hat on. The best part about the tinfoil hat here is, I write various blogs and put things out, and even this last week, why I made this is someone called me so I wrote something, and someone called me a conspiracy theorist. Some kid who's like 24, 25, young and at the start of his career. Meanwhile, the same reaction from a bunch of like, other people who have done this a little longer, were also telling me, oh, this is great. This is exactly right. So it's really funny whenever I, post something and they call the conspiracy theorist. So I've got the tinfoil hat always.
Well, isn't the other term lately? Is there like, oh, you're such a contrarian, right?
Ooh, well, people like calling people contrarians.
Yeah. Val is here. Should I just bring him in? I don't know Val, so I'm going to trust that he's not going to sabotage our show. So here we go. I'm kidding, Val. I know you've been watching for a while. There we go. Hello. Welcome.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to the all hands / town hall. And I'm going to bring in someone else too. Liz is here. Liz Jones. Liz, I don't see your camera yet. Turn your camera on and then we'll bring you up. But Val, say hello. Introduce yourself.
You guys hear me?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect. I was just hearing echoes because it was LinkedIn and this thing on, and it's just weird.
It's too much. Yeah. Val, you go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm going to bring a couple other people into the stream, but you just keep talking, okay?
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. I'm Val. I'm a CEO of a company called IOBlend, and we're basically a Spark-based ETL tool. I know Lauren from a while back. I've been stalking her all over the I love her comments and so on. It's a really, really insightful stuff, and I enjoy your show, guys. It's very, very cool. Um, Actually, I would buy a T-shirt if you made one, Mary.
That's Lauren's job. I've been telling her.
All
It's
right.
on
All right,
you.
I'll have to make them. All right, I'll make them. Let's do it. And you're in the UK, right, Val?
Yeah, it's Friday night, and I'm with you.
Excellent. We're beating out whatever's on the BBC, Mary. So I enjoy it.
Love it.
Definitely. No, I heard your kind of comment, Lauren, just a sec ago about the procurement bit. Yeah, no, absolutely right. There is a lot of interest and spend still going on by the big companies. The thing is, the procurement cycle itself is a killer. I mean, it's like you get people excited, right? You do this whole kind of presentation, POC, everyone wants to deliver it, and then it just goes into a black hole, right? It's like department after department, procurement said this, legal said that, and you're just being bounced around like a football. I mean, seriously.
Right, and you're working, if I recall, you're working a lot with like larger. You sell mostly to larger companies. Like I remember you'd mentioned like airline industry.
Yeah,
and such.
airline. Yep.
Yeah,
Definitely. So we're working with like a ground handling company right now, and I mean, basically, it's legacy like you wouldn't believe. So they're trying to join the 21st century, and again, this is kind of like, well, let's do it, but because the corporation is like a giant kraken, right? You know, everything is moving very, very slowly. So it's like, guys, it's not costing me money; it's costing you money not to join. You know, the modern data industry, but it's just kind of, you know, well, we'll get to it when we get to it, kind of thing. So that's a bit frustrating. There is interest, there is desire, but how do you crack that, right? And it's like pulling my hair. Maybe I need your head. That will help.
No, I've done procurements for a long time on both sides, and I actually did it like as a full-time thing for a little while. Which like that was a role that like it was not what I was hired to do, but like I got into that. And yeah, it's, the foot dragging is often on purpose. Like the foot dragging is, to see who breaks first or how much of a deal you can get or how how dysfunctional the department is. And it's important to like think about these things, because like when you build technology, you build software, infrastructure, whatever, like there's different schools of thought, right? Like people say like start low, start with like small companies and sell $10,000 deals, or just give it away for free, open source it, and then build something on top of it and get a lot of small companies. And then if you get a lot of small companies, 2 years later, after you've gotten some traction and maybe more funding, then you can go after the big deals and et cetera, et cetera. And that's been like what a lot of like investors have said the last couple of years. I don't always agree with that. It's not right for every product. And what you end up with, like, I don't know, if you have 1,000 customers, and they're paying you what, $1,000 a year, you're making $1 million. Well, all right. Well, if you have 2 customers and they're paying you $500,000 a year because your product's a little bit more complete, then you've also got $1 million. So, it's different, and I think the overhead is very high to going low. Like I actually would much rather be selling big deals and working on like larger, like, $50,000 and up, like 50,000 US dollar and up, $500,000 higher types of sales, just because I think I think it makes better companies. But like with the way venture politics work, and they want to get traction so then they can go get another venture capital firm to get a Series B, then another Series D. Like that's kind of the opposite way of doing it. And so you can come out of both sides, doing well. You can come out of both sides, just your company goes kaput. But it's interesting because like it's kind of controversial among some like founders, like what the right way is and what the right price point is and how to approach it.
I hear you.
So I want to let Liz introduce herself. Whenever you're ready, Liz, you can unmute. But quick question there for Val in the comments. How wants to know how long your sales cycle is typically?
It's about 12 months at least.
Wow.
It's a enterprise sales. Yeah, it's very slow. Yeah, that's painful.
I don't know how people have the patience. Like,
Yeah, tell me about it. It's yeah, it's a struggle, but you have multiple deals spinning at the same time, so that's how you manage it.
yeah. There's Liz. Hi.
Hi.
Liz, introduce yourself.
Yeah, Liz. They've just forced me to start working at the office instead of remotely, so I'm taking the day off.
So you've been forced into the office, so you're working from home. I love it.
I'm not working today at all. I really am taking the day off. That was kind of a joke. I'm excited.
What do you do? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I'm a business and data analyst. It's a weird title. I don't really know what I do. I like
love
data,
the honesty.
Yeah, I like data analytics. So I just got this new job a while ago, which has been really cool. But like a month ago, they were just like, "You guys have to come in," and I was bummed. So,
are you working like? I always love talking to analysts because it's the most underleveraged role in a lot of businesses because it should be the most strategic role, in my opinion. Like the most strategic role that's not like at the executive level. But it usually like, in a lot of cases, analysts can mean the person that runs a bunch of Tableau dashboards or the person that, makes some SQL queries and maybe they're ad hoc or, puts analyses together for single one-off use cases. Like what is this, are you new to analytics or is this like something you've done for a while? Like how do you think about it all?
I mean, sort of. I actually went to a coding boot camp like 3 or 4 years ago, and then like started writing Python and learning all that. And like my last job, I was actually technically a consultant. I was just a contractor, and I kind of like moved into writing code and like doing analytics for like a part of a company that didn't really have that. But I just like wanted benefits and I wanted to like expand because if they weren't even giving me access to their like BI tool, they're just like sending me CSV files. So I just got this new job a while ago and it's pretty cool, but like the titles are all willy-nilly because I'm not really doing data analytics. I'm like writing user requirements. But yeah, I like Python. I'm learning SQL, which is pretty cool. I'm trying to become really good at it. But yeah, I love being a detective and doing all that. It's super, super cool. Just started like.
How do you find us, Liz? How did you become part of the tech bro world?
I think Twitter.
Oh, nice.
I think someone made some comment and they like tagged you, Mary, and then I was like, oh, this is cool. Then I was like, oh, this is really funny that there's something called the Tech Bro podcast.
Love it.
Yeah. So this just was really fun. I watched last week, so.
Awesome. Yeah. And for anyone still watching, feel free to join in.
They're all great. Very, very good. I enjoy this show a lot. Your guys and Joe's Mondays. Very, very good.
Well, even just hearing, say, your perspective here, Val, and then Liz's, I feel like it's kind of what like in a real all hands in a company you'd want is like people being honest about what they do and how they can do things better. But we all know that in the corporate setting, that's not, people always can't be as frank. So
and you can't have one of these in the corporate setting either. Usually,
exactly.
Right.
I'm gonna bring in Jonathan. I think my understanding again is that I can have as many like up to 10 people in this screen. I
think you can pull in like 8 or 10 or something.
If anyone gets kicked out, apologies. So I'm going to bring Jonathan Schlosser in. Jonathan, welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jonathan. I'm a senior data scientist at Nielsen. Have like 10 plus years of experience in data industry. Worked in a variety of fields like doing environmental science analyses, GIS work, working in NLP, some computer vision projects, all over the gamut. But I've been following y'all since the start of this podcast.
This is really why we did this. We just want to hear compliments. So
we just want to hear.
We want to hear how great we are, right?
And like y'all's reputation precedes you. So like I've seen some things that Lauren's worked on. I've seen some things that you've worked on, Mary, through LinkedIn. And I think I came across this though today, because a number of people that I follow and work with, like Kelly Hopkins, Scott DeGeese, they're all like really big fans of it, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, I figured I'd hop in, say hi. I enjoy what y'all are doing. So yeah.
I've known people who worked at Nielsen years ago. I don't know much about Nielsen now. So how, obviously this is public, so I know you can't be totally frank, but what's it like there? You're,
Yeah.
they're one of those companies that's been doing data from like the early days. So
yeah, so Nielsen data is our product. We are experts in data. That's what we do. But there are so many different teams and different avenues in which we work on that where you land really determines what you're doing day to day. So I work on the crediting team, which is essentially a linchpin team in Nielsen. We validate like what is coming in as data and how it gets credited to stations or broadcasts or commercials or audio. So we are sort of the experts on making sure that things are accurate in terms of being credited. So a lot of the work that I do day to day is like A/B experiments, testing out new features, really validating stuff. I've been building a couple of like data software products to help with our analyses. But it's not like fancy, crazy like ML neural network stuff or anything like that, because like due to the clients that we have to keep everything as explainable as possible. So
most people don't need to be doing that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have to and we get down to the nitty gritty where it's like at this 5-second interval on this date, this was credited instead of this. Why? And we have to be able to explain why that 5 seconds got credited in one way versus another. So it's very fine-tuned data work, which is great though, because everyone on my team is brilliant. Like all the people I get to work with are really smart at what they do. But it's also not as colorful on paper, like when I'm advertising myself in the data landscape, because I'm not doing like these like crazy ML ops production things day in and day out. We do them, it's just not day in, day out, So it's a little interesting vibe.
You still throw in the sexy keywords, I think, when the time comes, right?
Right. Right.
Yep.
But
that's what shortens your sales cycle. Val was saying is a year-long sales cycle. That's because he's not putting AI, ML ops, everything else in there. It would shorten it to like a month. You get the deals right through the door.
I will do that. I'll put LLM all over my website now.
Exactly.
But what I would love from y'all, if I could ask y'all a question, is I'm sort of trying to break into the startup space a little bit. I would like to eventually hold the CTO co-founder role. So entering into that like startup landscape is sort of parallel to consultancy work and breaking into that realm. So I'm curious, like what advice do you have? What thoughts do you have? What red flags should I keep an eye out for? Stuff like that. Keeping it very vague. So answer it however you feel best. But
so the first thing about this is like these founder, like, someone wants a technical founder or someone on the founding team, right? Like maybe someone's going out and they're trying to find the right people. Maybe they've got a little bit of like friends and family money together. They put in 150, 200K just to get the wheel turning. Like right at that stage, it's 100% networking. Mm-hmm. And like in the same way that like, you can say this again and again, like at least, I don't know about Europe or the other rest of the world too much, but at least in the US, like most jobs like that are like that, where you're like a founding strategic person, like most opportunities out there are not posted. Fred just put, visit angel.co. Yeah, there's some stuff on AngelList you can find and elsewhere, but just networking is the number one way to do it. And you got to like really hustle and hit the ground. Like I live in New York, San Francisco. Boston to an extent as well, you know, are where a lot of those like those types of founders are usually, at least in the US. You know, London's got a good scene, Tel Aviv, other places in Europe, but and you know, elsewhere around the world. But yeah, like getting out in front of those people and networking hard is the best way to do it. And I would even say that, like, I don't know, like I've like if there's something you're interested in, like I'm actually personally not a huge fan of open source as a business model. As a technology, sure, like it's fine, but like you can look around in like open source projects and see who's doing what and who's building something. And you know, if someone's coming from a pedigree of like, you know, a well-known company and they're getting some momentum on their, you know, this project that they're doing, like definitely reach out. Most people are happy to chat to you. And I would say, like, as far as advice or red flags and things to watch out for, like one is the pay is going to be nothing at that level. Like a lot of these people pay themselves like $1 a year or, you know, whatever ceremonial amount there is. And the second is like, you know, you have to figure out like what kind of company you're going to build. Like a lot of what we've seen in the last couple of years is like a lot of these like high number of like open source companies that like don't have an idea of how they're going to make money in the future. And so they go and they, you know, open source something and, you know, they get a series A or get a, you know, seed and a series A or whatever. They still don't know how they're going to monetize. Like as a founder, like, you know, you might be making some money. Like you want to make sure, like, this is a different discussion, but you want to make sure, like, you know, when the equity's cut up and like the way the cap table is set up, you have QSBS, which you can look that up, but I don't want to go into it here, but you want to make sure that like you have the best, you know, equity stake available. And as the company grows, right, like, you know, you got to figure out, like, are you going to be in it for the long haul? Are you locked in? Like a lot of times if a founder leaves, like it looks really bad and like you'll have handcuffs on it. So like, you know, a year in, 2 years in, if it's not for you, like, I don't know, maybe you're not really supposed to leave. So it can get a little political with things. It's stuff to watch out for, but I'm always a big fan of like having a revenue model up front. You know, it can be cheap, but like knowing what the revenue model is, and like, you know, making sure like you're working with people who, you know, share like at least some common vision of where it can go. Like a lot of times people will say like, oh yeah, you need people who, you know, like one's a tech person, one's the business person, and your skills should complement each other. And that's all true and all, but like, you got to have the same like vision off the bat. Otherwise you're going to be fighting like cats and dogs once you raise money and the VC sharks are trying to pull you apart because they want to put their own CTO in there and everything else. So anyways, that's my little ramble on that.
That's super helpful. That was so insightful. So thank you for that.
It's spared you having to write the blog, Lauren, and we can just take the transcript, put that out into a blog, and there you go. I want to make sure we say hello to some of the people in the comments. Ray Hassan from Upsolver is here. Timo is here. Hello, Timo, all the way from Denmark. Fred has some more comments as always. Hi, Fred. Great comments. In my response to that, and Val and Liz, feel free to chime in here, is just turning the question on you, Jonathan, why, you know, really knowing your own motivations, getting sort of at all the sacrifices this journey takes. For me, like I would rather do anything rather than become a founder. Like that's the last thing I ever want to do. But, you know, obviously it sounds like you're pretty far along that thought process that it's, you know, is it because you have a great idea or is it because you want to be a founder?
So one, I'm already working with like a stealth startup that is trying to trot this path. So part of asking that question was to get some insights into what our future could be. So I'm already sort of in kind of a role like that. But what I would really like to do is be able to like jump in with somebody who already has an idea and build it out. Like I like building the products, doing the thing, so to speak, right? The marketing of it, the selling of it, the building out the financial sort of plan and cycle, those are not my strong suits. Yes, I have awareness in those areas, but it's not the thing that I love doing. I'm not a salesman by nature. I can't BS. I'm not super great at that. But I can build a data product and build a good data product. And that's what I enjoy doing, is like sort of that creative process of exploring ideas, scoping it, really putting the pedal to the metal and trying to figure out, how do we build this thing that's never been built before? So because I find those opportunities rewarding, I'm hoping to go more into those areas and have that as my career.
Some great comments here from Anne Marie, who says that she has always been a reluctant founder, though very successful. Gosh, I feel your energy in that statement. We'd love to know what you do, Anne Marie, because I don't know. So feel free to put that in the comments or to join in on the convo. And then Roy has some practical advice. He says, you don't typically join a startup as a CTO. CTOs are the technical co-founder. You also need to have a lot of real world experience building and managing fast moving teams, solving complex engineering problems, and being the face of your company along with the CEO. He says, I suggest starting smaller, like an engineer, data, or product lead, move up to director, then VP. Develop the skills beyond just the technical. And that, Roy, is part 2 of the blog. That's also really good, concrete advice. And then Brian Green says, one last thing, and then you can go, Jonathan. Brian Green says, if you're a co-founder, you're a salesperson. So sort of once you're in that path, you will have to master sales.
Everything is sales. Everything is in life is sales.
Yeah.
And like the crazier, the thing that I like in the last couple of years with like, I don't know, like all these tech products that have come out in the last couple of years, they're either open source or they're very cheap. And there's like 4 competitors in their whatever category they're in. And so like, you know, a lot of times there aren't a lot of salespeople, and people are like, oh, I hate talking to salespeople. But then they're going around on social media or whatever and talking to like a bunch of people in marketing and then marketing the product. And it's like, well, you're doing sales right now and you're interacting with salespeople because everyone's a salesperson. So, you know, I think don't sell yourself short, Jonathan. I think, you know, everyone's a salesperson. You got to sell, you know, doesn't mean you're there negotiating a contract at 11:59 before, you know, something expires and putting the pressure on, which those are the things I like to do. But you know, just putting yourself out there and explaining the value that you have to someone else. Yeah.
And also, Jonathan, you get ready to be thick-skinned and way out of your comfort zone.
Oh, because I'm already used to that.
Yeah, it's you're gonna have to do things that you hate to do, but you're gonna have to do it because initially, especially, your team's gonna be small. You can't really delegate, and everyone picks up pieces after everyone and kind of looks after each other. So yeah, like Lauren said, sales, marketing, you hate it, you got to do it. If there is no marketing, no sales, there's no business. So
yeah,
it's like doing the dishes. Like everyone hates doing the dishes, but you got to do them anyways because otherwise they pile up, right? So yeah, I mean, in running my own business, and like I've had people working for me, and I don't know, there's parts I like and parts that I'm good at and not good at, but I don't know. You learn and you adapt for sure. Whatever it is, sales or you know, managing a balance sheet and or whatever.
And I feel like though that comes with like the territory of like tech and data fields. Like we are always learning, right? Like even if you stay technical, you're still always learning. So like part of me understands that like that sales work, developing a product, doing all of the sort of tedious tasks that come with it or the less enjoyable tasks is still part of that learning journey to getting to that like position or goal, right? So that doesn't really scare me so much, right? Like it's sort of like an opportunity to sort of learn new things, pursue new things, and challenge myself in different ways, which is kind of exciting. And that's sort of why I want to go into that like co-founder or CTO space, is because it is these new challenges and these new problems to solve. And it will always be those new problems to solve, just like being in like data science or any other sort of tech role, but it's just different.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm actually gonna hop off so I don't monopolize y'all's
No,
podcast.
this was great. Thank you for coming, and we'll
Yeah,
see you
thank you,
again.
Jonathan.
And keep us
Yeah,
posted.
awesome.
We'll bring you on when you're a founder. Or
If anyone's looking for technical co-founder person, Jonathan, find him in the comments.
I think
Absolutely.
did you want to say one last thing, or you're good?
Oh no, I was just saying absolutely agree with what Lauren is saying. Hit me up if anybody's got ideas that they need somebody to work on.
Awesome. Thanks,
Take care.
Jonathan.
Take care, y'all.
Comment here from Anne Marie, who says that she founded the first recruiting firm in LA to focus on tech startups. That was back in the beginning of the .com boom. So you've seen some stuff, Anne Marie, and now you're knee deep in AI related startups and conversations. Good stuff.
Neck deep. Neck deep is worse than knee deep.
Oh, neck deep.
Neck deep, you're drowning. You're in the La Brea tar pits near you, Mary.
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
neck
man.
deep in the tar pits there.
Yeah. Oh, Chris is here. Chris, I'm going to bring him in.
Is this Tab?
No, this is
Oh, no.
Chris Brousseau, who's been we've been exchanging messages, right, Chris?
That's right.
Except you looked very different in your photo because it was pre-beard. Chris, I believe, is one of the many data community people who lives in Utah. Am I right, Chris?
Yeah, that's right.
There's it's a whole thing that a lot of data people live in Utah.
Silicon slopes, right? That's what they call it.
Silicon slopes. Yeah.
Okay. Welcome, Chris. So tell us about yourself.
All right, sure. So I work at MasterCard, and I do NLP and really deep language models for them, which surprises a lot of people because it's a finance payment processing company, but we use them quite often. I got into language modeling about 6 years ago in 2017. I took a class in college on a whim, kind of a seminar class. I was a translator back then, and took a Python and machine translation class that just blew my mind. And I had to go meet with the professor like every single day after class to really understand what was going on. But he had the wherewithal, because after that semester ended in June of that year, the Attention Is All You Need paper came out, and he emailed every student in the class and was like, you guys need to do something with this now because it's huge and it's going to continue to be huge. And yeah, it's been a journey since then, but it's been really good. I like this more than translation.
Talk about having chosen the right specialty, right? You were about to say something, Lauren.
No, I'm curious. I mean, people always talk about, New York tech scene or Boston or San Francisco or Austin. Everyone likes to go to Austin or Miami now because, tax reasons.
Sure.
The Utah tech scene is always pretty resilient. Like how is it like, have you worked elsewhere before, or how is it different there than what you might find in other cities?
So that's a really good question. I've worked in the Moscow, Russia tech scene, and I've worked in the Portland, Oregon tech scene. And Utah is unique in that area. Surprisingly, Moscow was kind of similar to Portland in as far as tech goes, where it was very very open and very willing to try like brand new things. Utah is, I don't know how new oriented Utah is, but it's really easy to start a business here, and it's really easy to get a unicorn here. It's there are tons of people willing to work in tech, and tons of people willing to throw money at it.
Sounds like Jonathan, the last guest, needs to move out to Utah.
Yeah, maybe he does.
So what you said, you were a translator before.
I was, yeah.
What kind of translator?
English to Slovak.
Okay. Wow.
And you did that in Moscow.
Is
that different?
In Moscow, I did do some of that, but it was mostly Russian to English when I was in Moscow.
Как по-русски.
Yeah.
I speak a bit of Russian. I learned back in the day, but it's mostly bad words, so I'm not going to say it
Oh,
you
that's
know,
awesome.
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once people hear you speak Russian, they're gonna just have all sorts of new conspiracy theories about how
Oh
you.
yeah, that's what I get every time. They're like, "Are you a spy?" And I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
"No, the Russians thought that I was a spy.
Right.
Like, there was no."
Well, you could be a double agent and just be playing them off each other.
Yeah, but I can't tell you if I'm a double agent.
Yeah, I know,
That's
right,
against
right.
the
But that's
point,
what you would
right?
say. That's what you would say, right, if you were doing that. But no, I'm
I want-
curious. So,
Go
well, no,
ahead.
I like talking to people who aren't like talking heads about AI and this and that necessarily. I don't know how much of a talking head you are, Chris, but I don't think I've seen I'm not seeing a billion LinkedIn followers and nonsense on socials and things.
No, I've got
And-
about 1,700 LinkedIn followers and about 600 YouTube subscribers. So
Okay.
no, I'm not big. I'm
Yeah.
not
So
talking
right.
head.
So you're a real person. So I'm curious. What is your opinion right now on all this AI stuff, and where's the hype line to like hype versus reality? Yeah. But what's your opinion on all of that?
That's a really great question. And I can tell you, coming from like the linguistics background, it is both really cool and really frustrating to me to see how popular like undergrad level linguistics is right now among computer scientists.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing because I'm like, yes, we need more people knowing about this and experimenting in this field. And it's frustrating because it's like a lot of people are presenting this stuff as if it's brand new because they don't have any background in that field. They're not giving any acknowledgement to the people who have already put in a ton of work. And I feel like you could just skip a lot of steps by having these people go and study, that basic linguistics in order to get ahead. That's been something that's actually been really good for me in my career is like, for example, let's talk about the new LLM movement. We've been down this road before. When I took my deep learning classes in college, I was constantly being told like, hey, you can't make a model better just by adding more layers to it. Turns out you totally can. You just have to add like 175 billion layers to it instead of like 6, but that's kind of plateauing out. And so people are looking for new ways to revamp this space. But we've done this before with BERT in 2017. And we've done this before with GPT-2 in 2018, right? Where a model gets released, it's performing really well on a lot of generalized tasks and people kind of freak out about it. And then we discover that like, oh, if you fine tune this model or fine tune a smaller version of it in a particular space, it performs better in that space, right? That's where you get KeyBERT and BERTopic and Distilbert and Roberta, I'm seeing the same thing happen. The only big difference for me right now is the UX, where the whole idea of a chat UX for these large language models and the fact that they're responding a lot more coherently than like GPT-2 back in 2018, that's like the key to this whole AI revolution, as it were. Does that make sense?
Yeah, pushing it up to the UI, like this UI layer is the first thing that stuck out to me. Like when I saw all the demos that came out in October, November, and everything, like because it's consumer facing and it democratizes this in a way that none of the previous stuff did necessarily. Like I don't know, democratization is I think the right word of what we're seeing now.
Maybe even commoditization, right?
Yeah. Where's have you been following all the Noam Chomsky? Like, I'm asking you this because you're a linguist.
Yes.
Have you been following all the Noam Chomsky versus all the AI VC drama and all the stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. And I've loved it, honestly, because I remember taking linguistics and taking phonetics and taking my semantics classes, like even my advanced semantics classes, and hearing in every single one of them about Noam Chomsky revolutionizing linguistics and a lot of other fields with like the whole idea of a cognitive version of that field, like cognitive psychology. Really cool. However, I think it's funny. Like I'm not going to comment on whether I think he's right or wrong because that'd be kind of useless. I think it's just funny that the father of modern syntax, who created generative grammar and transformational generative grammar, along the idea that syntax is separate from meaning is now having to comment on syntax only models and the meaning that they generate. You know, that's
Right.
it's funny to me. I don't know if it's ironic. I don't think it quite is, but it's fun to watch, and it's fun to hear his thoughts. It's fun to hear him echoing the thoughts of like Emily Bender and Temna Gebru talking about stochastic parroting and everything. That is, I don't know. I just love it. I'm loving following that scene.
Yeah, and so just like so our audience is clear, like the very high level view is like a lot of, you know, linguistics and academic linguistics, and Noam Chomsky being like, you know, the father of
Modern
you know,
linguistics, basically.
the whole thing, and he's at MIT. I think he's still at MIT. I mean he's you know, getting up there in age, but I think he's
and
really
a strong voice politically as well, not just in linguistics, but sort of seeing.
Oh yeah, he's all over. He's
representing the
politically,
political
Yeah.
I first encountered him in like I think high school psychology, but you know, basically there's a whole camp of like academic linguistics, and then there's another camp of you know, I guess Silicon Valley, like very you know, people who don't put linguistics first necessarily. Maybe the argument they would get mad. I'm not going to tread into this because I'm going to get yelled at on Twitter or something. But you know, there's like a bunch of camps right now fighting, and one is the academic piece. Emily Bender, like you'd mentioned, Chris. And then, you know, the Silicon Valley type camp. And it's interesting to watch the barbs go back and forth. Like, not that they're always like mean barbs, but just like, this is why you're wrong. This is why you're wrong. This is why I'm right. I don't know. It's discourse. And if you're like just getting into AI, or you don't, you know too much about it, or you want to learn more, you know, these aren't just like people in their basements, like, you know, yelling at each other on the internet. They're, you know, accomplished, well-read people on both sides yelling at each other on the internet. So it's good.
Well, and you can inadvertently get sucked into one of those camps without even knowing.
Yeah, don't comment on any Twitter thread.
Cool.
And as much as like the Noam Chomskys and stuff, they're obviously due to how renowned he is, his perspective coming to the top. So many of the other linguists, and then also the AI experts who've been doing this stuff for years, devoted their lives to it, their work continually being overlooked and not leveraged, not utilized in the way that it could be, which is a real shame.
It's not new though. You understand?
Yeah.
Like you go back to the first big explosion of linguistics in the 50s or 60s with Sir William Jones. This is one of my favorite things to look at, where he discovered, in quotes, he's not the first person to discover this, not the best person to discover this. It's like a really good example of Cunningham's law. He discovered some similarities between Sanskrit and European languages and posited an idea that maybe they're related. Except he added Japanese into this family, and he added Chinese into this family, and he added Egyptian into this family. And so he got so many things wrong. And then a bunch of people are like, oh, we need, like, somebody already said this, and they said it better, and they said it right. And it just reminded everybody of this, and then it exploded. It took somebody coming in and getting a whole bunch of things wrong, who wasn't a part of the field, who wasn't like, I mean, he described himself as a philologer, but not a linguist, you know. And that I'm seeing the same thing happen here. It's not a new thing, but it's I mean, again, it's one of those things where I'm really excited that it's hitting that public.
Well, it's the nature of how ideas evolve and become public, but also very much the strategy of the the people in power, and you know the Googles that fired the Timney Jabrus, and you know all a certain strategic silencing of voices that we see today. We're going to have you back on, Chris, because we've been talking about bringing you on. We're going to wrap up in a minute. Liz, Chris, Jonathan, Val, everyone who joined live, that was amazing. Thanks for people joining in the comments. I do have one quick question though. Can you tell us a little bit about the type of team that you're on at MasterCard? Like, where does someone who specializes in what you do, where do you fit into a corporation like that? I
mean, it shouldn't come as any surprise that I'm on the international focus team, right? So we deal with multilingual problems. We deal with multi-format problems, dealing with financial institutions, and those financial institutions have this desire to enter into open banking, but there's no like standardized international format for everything. And so we deal with all of those problems with trying to help them get through categorization, with trying to help them get through like figuring out who somebody is transacting with, especially in a foreign territory.
Yeah, great. Well, we'll look forward to hearing more about that. Did you have any follow-ups to that, Lauren, or should we?
No, but thanks to all our, everyone who joined today. I think this is a different format. Interesting, a lot of fun. Thanks, Val, Liz, Jonathan, Chris. Did I get everyone?
Yeah, and I'm going to
Any more?
bring in one final comment from Ihimu, a regular viewer, who says, it's good to hear technical discussion about language as it pertains to all of this. I wonder someday if we'll ever have to confront undecidable languages I think he probably means undecipherable languages in the context of chat GPT. The limits may be approaching faster than we think. Yeah, that's a good way to end this. So many questions. So amazing.
Well, thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks everyone. And this officially concludes our first Tech Bros Town Hall / All Hands.
No one got into a fist fight.
No, next time.
Next time. Take care.
Bye everybody.